topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the host and their guests, and not those of W4CS Radio, its employees, or affiliates. W4CS makes no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening to the Cancer Support Network on W4CS.com.
It's Arthi with Light Up Your Life, and I'm so excited to be with you here on another episode. And I just want to always thank you for the humbleness of watching whatever clips or listening on audio. Really appreciate it. And I have to look, but it'll be close to a year since we started, and I just want to. I'm just always so grateful for any experience, but especially to know that we have a forum on Talk for Media to really examine many different lenses of health and wellness and everything in between, topics that are considered taboo. Actually, one today that we'll be addressing with our guest, which really hits home for all of us, and things that we often don't talk about. So, and you really have to check out some of the other shows as well, too. But I just wanted to thank you all, the idea behind listening to different episodes. I also want to share a little of my journey this past week. There's always something, right? We all have a journey. And so I think I think on one episode I shared that I decided to go ahead and seek out my PhD in psychology. And one of the things that came up was identity and discussion of identity. So I think it's the perfect segue into today's topic because our guest is a specialist talking about shame and guilt. And I just know even in all the work that I've done in the counseling field, shame and guilt are two pieces of the puzzle that if we don't figure out, it really can I really agree with Lois, who is our special guest, that it is the root of so much of our not joyful living and us being stuck. So I'm excited about the format of having that. And why I share my journey of identity is because I think we really need to always dig deep and figure out what's going on. And I have done that in my first class, which is ending this week, is really dig deep and thinking about, and what am I doing? Should I be doing this? Is this the right time? Can I handle all the writing and research that's required? And it's called imposter syndrome. And all of us have a time when we think in our lives, can we handle, or should we be doing what we're doing? Long story short, I think we always have to do this constant analysis all the time. It's hard work, but great work, because that's that personal development that we get to do. So by no further ado, Lois Hollis has just so many great credentials. The first one is all of her years of experience working in different fields. One of them just be an advocate, also a filmmaker, and she's going to share that there's another film coming out in the work that she does. She has 50 plus years actually, of experience researching and counseling and working with shame and guilt and that concept in the health and wellness industry. And I'm just going to let her share the rest of her biography because it's such a great piece. And I'm excited also in this conversation of shame and guilt to also include Lois's personal journey, because she really has found a way to totally embrace health and wellness so that she lives a fruitful life. So we'll find a way to get her story going. Hi, Lois.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Oh, and thank you.
Okay, if I may build on your puzzle.
Yes, please do.
Okay. The way out of the puzzle, or to complete the puzzle, is to remove shame, guilt out of the puzzle. That's a different concept, and that's what I'm presenting today, is that the reason that we're all stuck, I would say most of us are stuck, even though we don't know it, are stuck in shame, guilt, because we have been given the wrong information.
Thank you for saying that, because I actually have decided that words matter so much. So I'm always constantly looking at words because they matter, right? And the fact of misinformation
Yes,
is,
because
yes.
we have been, how can I say it? We've been duped. We've been tricked. Okay, since Adam and Eve, of shame, guilt. And it has caused havoc in all of our lives for centuries. And it's used as a tool to make people do what they want them to do. So it's a trickster. I'm trying to make shame guilt a little funny because it's so deep and so horrifying that we have to look at it like the Wizard of Oz. Do you remember the Wizard of Oz?
Mm-hmm.
And Dorothy's so afraid because of all of the things she heard. And then Toto pulls back the curtain, and it's a man who's old and crippled, and he's got smoke coming out of everything and noise. It's a joke. Shame guilt is the joke placed upon us. I'm not saying it's not significant, but we have to get out of the fear of it, because fear is shame guilt too.
So, Lois, getting into the words of shame and guilt, because that is a big part of today. Can you start by defining shame and guilt for like a working definition
Yes.
for us?
I'm going to sidetrack a little to
Yes,
give a
please.
comparison. Okay, we have love energy that comes to us. And what does love energy do for us? It gives us happiness and confidence and compassion. We get our intuition from it. We have our passion. We have inexhaustible love for other people. That's what love energy does for us. That's our positive side. And we have many, many emotions that are here because of the love energy that we are bestowed upon within our humanity. Now, on the other side, we have shame guilt energy. That's negative. And I call it shame guilt because it's the same energy. Shame guilt's in the unconscious. Shame is in the unconscious mind, and guilt affects the conscious mind. But it's the same energy. So I say shame guilt, not shame and guilt. And that's where we get our mind split. Oh, shame is bad, guilt is good because I need guilt to be moral. No, you don't. You just follow your heart of love and you do what's appropriate. So shame, guilt is one word. Now, why did they make two words out of it? I'm a medical person. Now, if you have a virus in your brain, they call it meningitis. If you have the same virus in your kidneys, they call it nephritis. If you have the same one in your gallbladder, they call it cholecystitis. If you get the same one in your arm, they call it arthritis. Do you see where I'm going with this? Mm-hmm. But it's the same virus. So that makes a big, big change in your thinking, because shame, guilt is not good. Any part of it's not good. There's no such thing as a healthy poison.
Ain't that the truth?
So how is guilt good for you?
Mm-hmm.
When people have guilt, I suggest to them, can you feel remorse? or regret for something that happened. And then regret and remorse will bring you to explore other options. Like one of my clients, she was very guilt ridden and shame ridden because her mother passed away and she wasn't able to help her because she had alcoholism. So I helped her to move on to more of a regret that she couldn't, and now she's helping other people out of alcoholism. If you stay in the guilt, you go into suicide. There's no path. Shame, guilt. If you go into remorse or regret, you can make things right. Do you see the difference?
Totally.
So shame, guilt is an energy that comes into us. Now, what happens to a computer virus? It goes crazy, doesn't it? And it doesn't work. And all systems go differently. Like the same virus that attacks your computer acts differently than the virus that goes into my computer. And that's why shame guilt is hard to define, because it acts differently for different people. So shame guilt is a computer virus that comes into us when we are an energy person. You know that because you're in the health field. We have meridian lines and we have all sorts of energy flows. And when the virus, the virus or the energy that comes in shame guilt, it comes into us and makes brain fog. We get confused. It turns all our positive emotions into negative emotions. Compassion turns to depression. Our passion turns to anger. And our intuition turns to anxiety. So when we release shame, guilt, energy, we get our positive emotions back. It's like, duh.
I know. It is so true, right? It's this energy flow. I mean, I love how you're defining this. First of all, the dichotomous pairs of good and evil, bad. I mean, just these, right?
Whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. But the fact is, it is the idea behind energy flow. And we are, by our bodies are a piece of science as much as like we're energy, right? And so you're reminding me of this concept that you're bringing up. It's all energy.
So that's my definition.
Mhm.
Shame, guilt is a negative energy that is placed upon us. Long story. You don't have to get into that, but it doesn't belong to humanity. It's like a parasite that sucks our light, and you understand about the light. Shame, guilt, energy cannot live unless it eats upon our light energy.
Wow.
That's
Well,
profound.
that is profound. Yeah,
That's a big one.
it is a big one.
So in order to get rid of it, we first have to understand what it is. You cannot defeat your enemy if you don't know your enemy. And we have been told not to talk about shame, guilt. I mean, like they were like, oh, we don't talk about that. It's taboo. I'm going, if you don't know your enemy, you're going to always live in the mess. Are you stupid?
No, it's true. It's 100% true. That's why I like knowing the root cause. I do want to highlight, you were talking about your client with grief, and I just, a lot of people, that grief and that guilt, regardless of however the story occurs, there's so much confounding guilt that occurs with death or loss. So can
Yes.
you address that piece of the puzzle? Because I know we're talking about how it is it is placed upon us. So how have you seen in all of your years in this experience and in this field that you've taken on? How do we address this grief and this?
First of all, take out of your vocabulary the words shame, guilt, and guilt.
Mhm.
Don't say, oh, it's such a shame. It's raining today. I can't have the party. It's sad. It's unfortunate. but it's not shameful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shame doesn't belong in your vocabulary, but we all say it. So we have to put a note on the refrigerator saying, do not use the word shame or guilt. Now, we use it in therapies,
Mm-hmm.
but in our normal conversation, you don't feel guilty because your team lost in the baseball game. You can't say, oh, I feel guilty because it didn't work out. I feel sad. I feel disappointed. But these are words we can use. But culture has taught us to use the words shame and guilt. And they don't belong to us. They do not belong to humanity. You take them out of the puzzle.
Mm.
It's a puzzle piece, and you take it out and you put in another one. You can be regret.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who doesn't have a regret? I should have invested in that stock and I'd be rich by now. I mean, everybody's got a crazy regret. Yeah.
And every day, Lois, correct me if I'm wrong, there are regrets every day that we're breathing on this earth, right? There's daily regrets and
Well, it depends on the person, but we all have regrets or remorse or whatever words you want to use.
mm-hmm.
That's okay. That's called learning and growing. So you take that regret and say, oh, now I can do this. That would be so cool. Regret is a way of stimulating you to do something better. What's wrong with that? It's a whole different mindset. Now, try not to use the words shame and guilt in your normal vocabulary. They don't belong to us because you're calling it to yourself.
Mm.
Now, in order to get rid of it, because the people that have terrific guilt and sadness and grief in their lives, it's not only this is what's happening today when they're 45, it's what happened when they were 10 years old. So we can't always focus on the present. We have to see, shame, guilt, energy stays with us. The more experiences we have that are negative, it builds and builds and builds and builds. And then something catastrophic happens and we fall apart. Not because of that moment, but because of everything we carried along the line. Okay? So you're not going to correct it in this moment of this experience. You're going to heal by finding the 7-year-old inside of you that got shamed because she sang wrong in a school play, and everybody laughed at you. So we have to help that 7-year-old, that timeline, and remove it from that part of us. And then the normal things that are happening in us today are not as severe. Okay? Different concept. And people get so stuck in the present situation that they just spiral down more and more and more. And I'm saying, okay, I can understand that. But what happened when you were 12 years old and you didn't get that date from the guy and you were very shamed about? So that's how I help people. Releasing the shame from the 10-year-old or the 20-year-old or the 6-year-old. That part of us, they're still there.
Absolutely.
And you invite them into this time. The biggest way to help is to make friends with your inner critic. My inner critic has now chosen another job. His name is King. Instead of hounding me, I didn't do a good job, or making me feel guilty, he goes around the world and finds me podcasts. So he changed his job because we had a talk and we worked it out and so forth and so on. We can't do all that in 30 minutes, but we can know that there is a way out of this shame guilt mess. And it's very, very beneficial, and it's easier than you think.
Wow. How did you get into all of this, Lois?
Because I was dying at 55, and my whole world collapsed upon me because I did not address the childhood emotional abuse and physical abuse I had because I didn't remember it. I was severely abused, head traumas, brain traumas, broken jaw, um, dyslexia. I couldn't go out in the sun because of the brain traumas were so severe. And I found a wonderful chiropractor person that could help me, but I had to do the emotional work. And I had a near-death experience in my childhood because of the abuse. And so therefore, I've always had that little extra information. And that's how I was doing my own work. And I got tired of talking to therapists. Not that they're bad, but you know, you go round and round and nobody says this is the way out. So I decided to talk to myself instead of talking to other people. So I would say, hi, depression, how are you? And all these parts of me would talk to me, and I talked to them, and I found the shame they're carrying, got rid of it, and I healed physically and emotionally. My hair got better. I wasn't dying anymore, and I snow ski and rollerblade at 78. So I'm like happier than I've ever been. And so people came to me and wanted to know what I was doing because I changed so much. And I told them I'm talking to myself and getting rid of shame, guilt, energy that I find inside of myself. And they asked to do it. And I said, I guess so. So I taught them. And within a couple sessions, they got well too. And then their mothers and fathers and kids and everybody started to come to me. And someone said, you ought to charge for this. I said, charge for what? I'm just teaching people how to talk to themselves. So that's how it all began. And I wasn't very successful in getting my word out because nobody talked about shame and guilt 15 years ago. But now with all the pandemic and the crazies, it's a hot item. So I went, oh, okay, I can talk about this. And so my job, my mission is to help humanity to evolve. But you can't evolve when you have shame, guilt, energy, which we all have. I've even helped a lot of spiritual channelers channel when I lived in Sedona. And when they released the shame, guilt that they were carrying, their channel got some more clear and more effective. So we're all more effective without the constant hitting upon us of the shame, guilt, energy.
First of all, thank you for sharing your story, and I just think it's amazing that you're spending this part of your mission work on focusing on such a topic that does need to be addressed because it does. I think we've all decided that root cause emotional distress is what leads to chronic. Oh, there's too much research. There's too much evidence.
Really, do I have to explain that to people? I'm like, and also people that are ill, there's a part inside of them that's ill, and we work with that part and then they heal. Anyway, so we have to bring our inner critic into our 50, 60-year-old timeline because right now he's in his 3 and 4 year timeline. So that's what I do is help people work with it. But the first thing is to know, don't use shame, guilt. And if as soon as it comes into you, say, okay, shame, guilt is not part of me. What else do I feel? Oh, I feel really sad and not good enough. So I would write a pencil and say, hi, not good enough. What do you want to tell me? So I focus on the emotions. Shame, guilt is not an emotion. It's an energy that affects our emotions. And this is where culture has messed us all up. And we can't blame anybody. We can't blame our mothers, our fathers, our grandmothers, the teacher, the president, the pope. We can't The only thing that we can blame is shame, guilt, energy. That's it. It's really that simple.
And simplicity is key, Lois. As we know, the more we keep life simple, the more it is such a beautiful.
Anybody can make a healing method or therapy complicated.
Mm-hmm.
It takes truth to make it simple.
Absolutely. Plus, you're talking about that inner, everything you're discussing is inner dialogue, inner work. Talk to your inner critic, right? That you basically healed yourself by sharing that you had conversation
It
with.
is with myself, and I'm not schizophrenic.
No, thank you for talking. I tell everybody to talk to themselves out loud because
Okay, we talk to ourselves anyway.
we do.
So what I do is I help people to identify who we're talking within ourselves. Because we're talking to ourselves, and I'm talking to my depression, who's called Sally, and George, who's my anger part, and King, who's my inner critic. So I go, "Hi, King, how are you?" So I just give them, they give me their names. I don't tell them their names. They give me. And my film, Out of Discord into Harmony, is a video showing me talking to my parts.
Oh, wow.
And .com website.
How did you decide? How did you decide that you thought the power of film and sharing your story in that way was something you wanted to delve into?
It came to itself. I didn't plan it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't plan to do this kind of work. I've always wanted to help people. I started the first kidney hemodialysis unit in the country, and I helped with open heart surgery. So I'm always like the first person out. I'm a trailblazer. That's just who I am. And after I realized how important shame, guilt, energy, and how it messes up everybody, I said, nobody's doing this. Well, I guess I should do it then. So I did it. That's just who I am, because nobody's talking like this. And it needs to be. And that's why I appreciate so much being invited on your show, because we need to get this information out. And it's not complicated. It's a self-healing. We're healing ourselves. Okay, I know therapy is important, and did help me out, but it only brought me so far.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to heal yourself. Everybody does. Doesn't matter if you had the perfect mother and the perfect father. No one, everybody has shame guilt. It just is. Because then your teachers gave it to you, or your bully and friends. It doesn't matter. You can't blame. All you can do is get rid of the shame guilt that you carried along the line. That's it. And it's possible. Now, does it happen in 5 minutes? No. There's a process. And that's what I do.
It is that simple.
It is that simple. And when you make it complicated, it's not true. God did not make it hard. God did not make it hard at all.
The complexity behind the human mind and our heart center, and you brought up heart center earlier in our conversation, is these constructs we make in our head, and then they just become, like you said, these constructs become a part of us. We take them on, yet our heart just needs to have.
Okay, our heart is our emotions. We need them. The mind acts from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So when we don't go to the mind, we have to go to the heart. And that's why we talk to our emotions. And they're not constructs, they're people. See my video. It's little kids inside of you. And what I've done is taken, hold on a minute.
Yes.
This is a picture. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry.
Here's a picture of me as a child.
Oh my goodness. Those are beautiful.
And I can relate to myself better when I see a picture of my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And these children inside of me are still children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the adult, but they're still children. And I help them to become whole, like a family inside of me. Because when people said, I can't talk to my inner child or my depression, I said, go to your childhood pictures and pick up a picture of you that's important and feel the connection. And that's how we heal each other, heal ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a hard childhood. So I had many people inside.
It's amazing.
And I always keep this in my room as a remembrance of me. That's who I am. I'm a composite of all that. It didn't go away when I grew up. So when people are suffering from today's trauma, it's yesterday's trauma put on top of today's trauma. And they feel so guilty because it's so heavy. Well, of course it's heavy if you're 50 and you've had trauma for 50 years. Everybody had trauma.
Thank you, Lois, also for bringing up the age normative, because there is something to be said when people say, "Oh, I'm just getting old," right?
I'm
getting
getting young.
yeah.
I am.
Mhm.
My goodness. You look older 20 years ago. I was dying, heart
Mhm.
disease and everything else. And I'm younger now. I couldn't rollerblade at 50. I was too crippled. So I am young. It's a mindset.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there's lots of um, Eastern thoughts that say you don't really become who you are until you're 60 or 70. That's when you really know your wisdom. So I think I'm getting better with age. I'm getting smarter. Look at all the years I had to gather information.
Totally.
So I'm just getting younger. And why not?
Why not?
And
I was thinking
go ahead.
about this. Yeah, I was thinking about that. This past weekend on Saturday, and I always mispronounce his name, and I don't like to chop up people's names, but um, Thich Thien Yun, who
Yeah, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
and he, at 95, and then I was thinking about Betty White 2 weeks ago. I was just thinking about, and then I was thinking about my great grandmother, and she passed at 100 last year. So I was thinking about all of these folks who have had, and I'm also having this great conversation with you, someone in their late 70s. Like when you look at what age normative, what is it? And I always find one commonality. And I have this one uncle who has this positive mind, like just in his 70s, and he's like, "I'm young." He always uses the word, "I'm young," right? The idea behind that mindset of what it looks like.
But you can't get a mindset if your body is ill.
Mhm.
So that's where the dichotomy comes in. You have to do emotional work.
Mhm.
Now, when the 7-year-old who was bullied in childhood, part of me, is healed, then that 7-year-old energy comes into me to the present and I get younger. That's how it works. When you gather all these parts of you and bring them into 2022, you get
Mhm.
younger because their energy is not spread all over 70 years. It comes into this year, this time. I haven't done it, y'all, yet, so I'm working on it. I'll talk to you in a few years.
I love it. I love that you're talking about the integration of self and becoming whole, because it is that concept that allows I was just having a conversation with my volunteer this morning when we were thinking about things for this upcoming year. And I was just thinking about how many people are so brokenhearted right now in their spirits. I said, even for there's just this
And,
brokenheartedness.
and it's really, if you look at it, it's the best thing that could happen to us because we were all so busy being positive and wonderful in this greatness. And now we're going, oh my goodness, I do have an issue. Well, now we can fix it. And I'm the how person. This is how you do it. Because a lot of people say, you have to love yourself. And I go, well, how can I love myself? I got to have somebody inside of me to love. How do you love yourself? By buying a new coat or eating something. You love yourself by loving a part of you that loves you back. Love is mutual. You can't just love something. That part needs to love you back. And then that's love. Like in relationship.
I was just about to say the relational piece. You just brought that up, right? The relational piece.
So when yourself loves you, like my film, Out of Discord into Harmony, teaches how to have a conversation with the inner, like depression or anxiety, and how you talk with them and how they change and how you all become a family that's functional, not a dysfunctional family.
That is the key, because I love that you just said that.
Because
I tease. Everybody thinks that they're the only dysfunctional family. And I'm like, no, actually
everybody has, but you have one inside of you too.
That's right. Yeah.
And that you can fix that one. You may not be able to fix your dysfunctional family because that's what it is, but you can help heal your dysfunctional family. And that's your job. That's your job, not to fix other people. It's your dysfunctional family.
And isn't the most rewarding career to do the inner work? I'm laughing through it. It's hard work, but I'm not going to even lie. It's a lot of hard work. I say it all the time, but it's the best journey of your life too, right?
Yeah. And then when you start talking with yourself and yourself starts talking back to you, it's like so cool. It's like the best thing ever. It's like, oh my God, this is so fun.
I'm trying to remember the Disney movie that I know so well because I used it all the time with the kids that oh gosh, it's the one where they have the emotions and then like they literally
Inside Out or something.
Thank you, Inside Out. I just have Inside Out stuck in my head while you're talking.
Yeah, this is my film to a certain degree, but it's more of a healing. Anyway, go watch it. It's only 20 minutes. It's
I'll
awesome.
do that. I love that 20 minutes, Miss Lowe, because we do need to make things short and sweet for people.
Oh yeah, my I'm Good film is 3 episodes, but 15 minutes each, because that's all we got.
Just because everybody else, all the feeds that they're constant. It's not that people don't have time. I have decided everybody's got time because we're randomly watching.
But we have no patience.
That's right. That's right.
So if people want to know about shame, guilt, I made a film of it and I show you what it looks like. And so therefore it does exist and it's not part of you. And that's the story. And I went to film school to do that at age 66.
Oh, kids hear that? Oh, this is so inspiring. I love this so much. So you went to film school?
Yeah, to make a film. That's what you do, right?
Yes, but you are talking about the idea of consistent harboring of learning. I was reading about your fact also, like when you talked about juicing and how it was such an increment.
Oh, it saved my life. And it still does. I still juice all the time. 20 years. It's wonderful. Yep.
Is that what you do for breakfast?
Usually for like later on, when I was very ill in my 50s, I juiced 3 times a day because I was that ill. And now I juice like once every 2 days or 3 days, something like that.
Thank you for bringing.
But it's more of a maintenance.
Yes.
But if you're sick, you need to just juice.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with you.
Yeah, but only vegetables. You juice vegetables and eat fruits. And I say that in my video. You can't do it. If you juice fruits, it's more harm than good because you get a sugar rush. You don't need that.
Yeah. No, I'm really glad you brought that up because when you're in that ultimate chronic chronic, and there's enough literature out there. This is not made up.
This is nothing. Yeah, this is not
nothing
new.
new. But if anyone wants to see the evidence base, plenty of it. That when you are in that illness of ill, like you said, that juicing at the baseline.
It
I
is.
mean,
It is. It is.
it's crucial.
And I had migraine headaches for 30 years. It's horrible. And I juiced vegetables, dandelion greens,
Mhm.
and oh my goodness, it went away. And then about 3 hours later, it came back. I said, I'll juice again. And it went away. And then it came back, I juice again. And I did that for like a month, 6
Mhm.
weeks.
Mhm.
And it was like slowly going away. And I 20 years later, I still juice vegetables. I go to the farm, get my vegetables, come home, and I juice them. No middleman.
That's great. And then again, no news to try to keep to vegetables and fruit that are 20-mile radius. My girls get upset because they want the blueberries. I'm like, not until they come in season, girls. Like,
Yeah, but
yeah,
you got to be careful of fruits. They're loaded with sugar.
they are. You have to. I agree. I agree.
It's vegetables. Juice vegetables, not a salad. Juice vegetables and eat fruit. And then you just like super good. That's how simple is that?
So
If you
tell me. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
if you take a glass of juice, vegetable juice,
Mhm.
take a glass of fruits that you juiced, okay? Put them together and they start foaming and going bad.
Mhm.
They don't mix.
It's true.
I know. I did the experiment because I didn't believe.
And oftentimes, you're right, Lois, when people are in the market are selling the mixed blend, it's also, I always, you know what that is. I mean,
Oh, we put some grapes and peaches and apples and oranges in our green juice. Well, that's not smart, but I don't want it. And someone said, oh, I put 2 leaves of spinach in my juice this morning. I went, that I don't mean anything.
because it's such misinformation, right? When you do, like you said, back to the shame, guilt, misinformation, back to how juicing's supposed to be done. So then I just think about people when they're like, when you're so hurt and distraught and you're looking to heal, you don't even know how to do it because it's just like, right? I mean,
That's why I'm on podcasts.
mhm,
I want to help. That's my
mhm.
mission. God kept me alive many, many times. I mean, my neck was broken and a kid. C1, C2, and 3. You don't live through that.
Oh my goodness.
So God kept me alive to do this work. So I'm
Can
here.
you share your hobbies? You were saying rollerblade, like, so how did that come to be? And you said it was like, so yeah, a little bit. I'm just so fascinated because I really want people to live. They're saying we live longer, but not happier. And I just see you and I look at you and I think, oh my gosh, here's this woman who is working through and has worked through her stuff
Major, 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 major.
to make it to this side of really, you know.
My hobby
Mhm,
is sewing. I love to sew. I
mhm.
used to make all my clothes, but
Okay.
that, gets complicated sometimes. So what I do is I buy clothes that either too small or too big or whatever. And I, cut them down or sew them or put a ribbon around them or put sequins on them. Or I love designing. I love designing clothes.
And then where the rollerblading come in?
Well, my grandson said, they call me Asha. You have to rollerblade with me. I go, well, I used to ice skate a lot and I like to tap dance. So I thought, well, I'll try it. And then I had to get the inline skates, because he said, you got to do that. You just can't do those rollers. So I got, I rollerblade now with him, and I go backwards and forwards. And of course, he's better than me, but I'm 78 on the floor now. I'm
Oh
good,
my gosh, I love it.
and I can turn around now and go backwards.
That's awesome. That's wonderful.
And the kids inside of me love it.
I was just about to bring that up when you talked about. I was just about to say, I want hearing you say that you loved tap dance. I mean, you just have, and look at what happens. These themes that reoccur in our lives, right? When you look at consistent themes that come from childhood.
And my motto, God does everything for good. So that's it. And shame guilt is not ours to own or to give. It's a foreign parasite put upon humanity. And we can talk about that someday, but it doesn't belong to you. Just kick it out.
Love it.
It's an
Lois,
uninvited guest.
okay, yes, you did say that. I loved how you called an invited guest that needs to leave. Um, Lois, can you, before we end for today, can you, first of all, you just mentioned you have another film coming out. Can you maybe just, whatever you can share with us?
Okay.
Second one.
I have I'm Good Film because we're good. And my husband made the lyrics for it. It's awesome.
Oh,
Awesome.
wow.
It's I mean, if you just want to listen to the song, it's cool. It makes you feel so good. Anyway, who wants to become anonymous? But anyway, we love them. I have 3 episodes of I'm Good Film, and they're 15 minutes each. The reason being, it's a deep subject, and you need to separate it and think about it for a little bit. So episode 1 is out. Episode 2 is coming out next week, and it's free. And you can donate if you like. That's fine. I'll accept. And my pictures of the Wizard of Oz have just come in, and they're just awesome. I'm so excited. I'm so excited because that's what it's all about. The Wizard of Oz was really what we go through. The wizard is just our inner critic blowing smoke. We don't show friends with him. He's my partner now. He's your best friend you have.
Wow.
That's it. That's all there is. There ain't no more.
Well, I love that you keep it simple because it is simple. We need to come back to the idea.
Now, I didn't talk about the subconscious mind
Mm.
or the different reptilian brain and the occiput and all this. And all that is true, but that's not going to help you heal.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm all for practical. How are you going to heal?
Yes. Yes. It's about time. Agreed.
I mean,
Lois,
I can give you the pathophysiology of it all, but that's not going to help.
I have decided to. I'm like, yeah, I could teach you about the brain, or we could just get into it and just do it. Yes, true that, true that. Lois, thank you so much for the precious gift of your time and sharing all of your nuggets of truth. And I just am humbled that we have someone out there, in addition to Brene Brown, and in addition to other people who are out there doing the work of talking about topics that need to be addressed. And so thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. She has a different way about it. I just say that it's not, none of it's good.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to kick it out and talk to our emotions.
Yeah.
Kick it out of the puzzle.
Be another quote for you. Thank you, Lois, so much. It was such a great conversation. I appreciate
Keep in touch. Keep in touch. Okay.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of Light Up Your Life. And just remember the humble gift of this precious life. And it's all, I feel like when listening to Lois today, I'm just inspired to realize we're just consistently changing and building, and just go with the flow of who we are yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Have a good week, everyone.